Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I hope all of you are doing absolutely fine and your preparation is going on in full swing. Before we begin the daily quiz for today, just an important reminder, we are bringing back the Explained series in which, if you remember, we have a live session every Friday at 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel in which we go deep into a very important topic that has been in the news that week specifically. This week's explained session will be on India's crackdown on the VPN. Don't forget to join us live at 8 p.m. today on Friday, and after that, each Friday 8 p.m. we'll have a different topic for our explained session. So don't forget to join live for that as well. Now let's begin the daily quiz for today with question number 1. In which of the following international groupings India is a member but no ASEAN nation is a member? Mekong Ganga Cooperation, the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SAARC, or the BIMSTEC. So you have to satisfy two conditions. India is a member, but no ASEAN nation is a member. Now, if you talk about Mekong Ganga, it has India and it has Thailand also. So Thailand is an ASEAN member, so first cannot be the correct answer. SCO is correct, where India is a member, but there is no ASEAN nation which is a member. The same is the case with SAARC. With SAARC also, India is a member but no ASEAN nation is a member because it is specifically a South Asian organization. BIMSTEC on the other hand again has India and at least two ASEAN members. I want you to tell me in the comment section what are the ASEAN members that are also present in the BIMSTEC organization. The correct answer here is any of the two above because 2 and 3, SCO and SAARC, satisfy the two conditions. The reason why we are discussing this is because of the recently held ASEAN-India Foreign Ministers meeting as part of the India-ASEAN Conclave. External Minister Mr. S. Jaishankar represented India in this conclave and flagged the geopolitical headwinds triggered by the Ukraine crisis and its effects on food, energy security, prices, logistics, supply chains, etc., and how India and ASEAN can work together to ensure that we can get ahead of all these changes. As you know, ASEAN is a 10-member organization that was formed in 1967 and since then has had very close relations with India. Also remember, India and many other nations such as US, China, Japan and Australia are the ASEAN dialogue partners. Also, for your reference, you can save this photo. It gives you a relationship between a lot of these regional groupings, including the Gulf Cooperation Council, the BIMSTEC, SAARC, SCO, etc. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements. Number 1. The UNESCO has designated Champaner Pavagadh Archaeological Park as the World Heritage Site, calling it the only complete and unchanged Islamic pre-Mughal city. Second, the Kalika Mata Mandir lies within the Champaner Pavagadh Archaeological Park. Third, the temple complex also houses a dargah. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here is D. All the three given statements about the famous temple in Gujarat are correct. The reason why we are discussing this question is because the Prime Minister is all set to inaugurate the redeveloped version of the Kalika Mata temple, which is at the top of the Pavagadh hill in Gujarat's Panchmahal district. This article gives you a lot of important information about this archaeological marvel. It also tells you that within this entire temple complex we also have a dargah, and that is why it is being seen as a symbol of Hindu-Muslim unity across the country. Prime Minister Modi will be here to unfurl the red and golden colored temple flag as a part of the inauguration of this renovated temple complex. This article also tells you that UNESCO has designated the Champaner Pavagadh as a World Archaeological Site, calling it the only complete and unchanged Islamic pre-Mughal city. Next, question number 3. Which of the following nations is or are not members of the I2U2 group? Indonesia, UK, Israel, UAE, India, Ukraine. As the name suggests, I2U2 is two nations that start with the letter I and two nations that start with the letter U. The nations that start with the letter I are India and Israel, while the nations that start with the letter U are actually UAE and the United States of America. And now you can get to the answer very easily. Indonesia is not a member, neither is UK and neither is Ukraine. So the answer has to be 1, 2 and 6. Thus the correct answer here is B. The reason why we're discussing this question is because Israel is looking forward to promote this new initiative of the group of 4 nations together called the I-2U2. As you know, the American President Joe Biden is all set to visit Saudi Arabia, and during his visit to the Middle East, he will also take up the I-2U2 initiative. President Joe Biden will hold a virtual summit with Indian Prime Minister, Israeli Prime Minister, and UAE President when he is visiting West Asia from July 13th to July 16th. Next, question number 4. The infamous Black Death pandemic was caused by which of the following microorganisms? Bacteria, virus, fungi, or protozoa? The correct answer here is A, bacteria. One of the worst pandemics in the human history, that is the Black Death, which was called by the bubonic plague, was actually caused by a bacteria which was named Yersinia pestis. This article in the Indian Express says that after 7 centuries, there has been a new discovery on the origins of the bubonic plague, also called as the Black Death, which killed millions of people across Western Asia, Northern Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. It is generally understood that the Y pestis was spread by fleas which are carried by the rodent host, and once it spreads to humans, it is transmitted to others either by the fleas or directly through the respiratory systems. The onset of the symptoms for this deadly disease include intense fever and vomiting of blood. Most of the victims, because of inavailability of high-tech medical care, died within 2 to 7 days. Next, we have a previous year question from 2021. The R2 Code of Practices constitutes a tool available for promoting the adoption of environmentally responsible practices in electronic recycling industry, ecological management of wetlands of international importance under Ramsar Convention, sustainable practices in the cultivation of agricultural crops in degraded lands, or EIA, that is Environmental Impact Assessment in the exploitation of natural resources. The correct answer here is A. In this particular question, R2 here stands for Responsible Recycling. It is a standard created for electronic recycling industry specifically by something called SERI, which is Sustainable Electronics Recycling International. It is a kind of a certification given to the electronics companies which certifies that yes, these companies are working within the set rules and policies, and they are making sure that they are undertaking as much recycling of electronic equipments as possible. Next, we have a fact of the day, and today we will be focusing on India-China relationship 2 years after the deadly Galwan clashes. As you know, there was a lot of bad blood between the two nations ever since the Galwan clashes took place in 2020, in which 20 Indian soldiers sacrificed their life. Since then, the relations between the two countries have hit an all-time low. Although the trade between the two sides has recovered and in fact has reached an all-time high, but the diplomatic talks between the two countries have not resumed at a level that we were actually hoping for. India's trade with China in the calendar year 2021 was $125 billion, higher than the previous year, even higher than the pre-pandemic or the pre-standoff levels. However, the Indian government did put some restrictions on the Chinese companies' operations in India. A lot of Chinese apps which are very popular in India were actually banned. However, contrary to this, the Tencent company of China bought a stake in Flipkart, even though a lot of apps such as TikTok, etc. have remained banned in the country. There have been certain talks at ministerial level, like the Chinese foreign minister visited Delhi in March. The National Security Advisor Mr. Ajit Doval also participated in the meetings of the SCO and attended a BRICS Security Official Summit as well. However, talks at the highest level have still not resumed. India, on the other hand, has stepped up its engagement with the Quad, in which we are collaborating with other nations such as Australia, Japan, and the US to ensure that the Chinese domination in this region can be curtailed. As far as the border conflict is concerned, there still has not been any solution to the border conflict in the region where the clashes actually happened. In fact, we have seen several satellite images, and we have discussed also here as well how China is now building multiple bridges along the Pangong Tso Lake to ensure that the connectivity for its soldiers only increases over time. Thus, even 2 years after the clashes took place, there has not been any solution in sight per se about the India-China conflict. We only hope that in the coming days, diplomacy will take its course and the conflict will be resolved. This is it for today's daily quiz. Thank you so much for watching the video.